I'd like to call the Montecito Board of Architectural Review, February 20th, 2025 meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on an item that's not on the agenda today, please?
No requests.
Agenda status report, please.
We do have one change to today's agenda. We received a request from the applicant for item number 5, located 227 Hot Springs Road, and they're looking for a continuance to your March 6th hearing.
So moved. Is there a second, please?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Carried unanimously. Is that it? Just one?
That's it.
Minutes. Anybody have any comments on the February 6th minutes, please?
What's the item with Burnham Wood?
Item number 2.
Yeah, I thought I made reference to this, and I don't know if it's like properly explained in the minutes, but like number 2 says MBAR likes architecture and site layout, and I was looking, I thought the pool hardscape layout in general needed to be maybe a little more traditional, and I thought I alluded to that in the meeting.
Do you think that the items down farther, enhanced project design, particularly landscaping, revised details to establish a more resort type environment covers that, or do you?
No, I think I thought that I at least wanted to give them clarity that the hardscape needed to at least have a little bit more old world quality. I thought it was really kind of modern in the way it was laid out, and it just needed a little more of a nod to that. I didn't really have a problem with the location of the pool, so forth, but just the form of it seemed very modern. So, and I thought I made that comment, so.
Okay, so do you have a specific language I think this should be a new item, number 11. Do you have specific language you'd like to suggest?
Pool hardscape, to invoke a little more traditional flavor or style.
Okay. Is that it? Is that all
Yes.
you're?
Yeah, that's that, yes.
Anybody else, please?
Mine's all in there. It's good.
That same item, item number 4, I'm asking people, the landscape people, provide shade study with a goal of meeting 50% shade coverage after 10 years?
In 10 years' time.
In 10 years' time. Okay, good. And then,
And
No-
that's just for the parking lot specifically.
okay, so provides shade study with a goal of meeting 50% shade coverage in 10 years at parking lots.
At parking lots.
Okay, very good. And then number 7, I think it's study alternative stormwater solutions at parking lot swale.
Yep.
Actually, the reference to that was, and I made that comment, was that I thought the location of their retention basins compromised some of the opportunities to have a better landscape presence. So, so I don't know how you'd like to say that, but
You agree with my suggestion here, and would we add yet another comment?
I think it's fine how it is because we want them to find another stormwater solution that isn't in the middle of the parking lot or incorporates trees, like.
which,
Item 7 is
7.
what we're discussing.
um,
I said, you have all of these golf courses for your stormwater.
um,
Robert Sen just attended, Kimberly.
Thank you.
how about study alternative stormwater solutions, that at the same time provide a better perimeter project presence that are coexist with providing,
I
okay.
don't understand what that means.
Um,
Was the alternative, or were we trying to get out, put more trees in that swale area?
Yes. Better.
and the retention basins?
Well, there was a swale area in between the two parking lots, right? Two parking lot sections.
Right.
So is the intent here provide stormwater solutions that will not affect tree placements at the parking lot?
Correct.
The-
I think that that's more specific.
Is that true or not there?
There are better stormwater solutions that will enhance the project. For instance, you could have had the parking lot stalls be permeable, and they didn't do that. And that's like done a lot. That is a methodology of then not having to have those retention basins on the perimeter. So, I mean, if you can frame that in a way that better states that or gives them that freedom to kind of.
Of a parking lot.
I mean, we're doing that. Is there a way to, is something to add to number 7 that?
That's what we're trying to figure out right
Yeah.
now.
So,
Can we,
that enhances overall presentation of project?
we don't know what that phrase means.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's what I was, part of what I was suggesting was that the retention basins were poorly located and they compromise the ability to create a nice perimeter presence and a kind of a resort style presence to that project. And so when you have retention basins, and they tend not to look good, like right in
Right.
your face. So if there's a way you can phrase that, you have great command of the English language, maybe you can come up with something. Those are two different things, I think.
No, but.
There was a couple of,
Yeah, I know.
there was, and there was, yeah, that was another location where that occurred. So there's two different locations where those, where alternate stormwater solutions would better this project.
Shall we just leave it the way it is?
I-
Is that okay with you, Rob? I was the one that brought it up. Study alternative stormwater solutions. They're on their way to the planning commission.
Okay, all right. We'll have another, okay. I just trying to give them something to hang, to hang their hat.
They got more or less positive comments and they have to address some things, okay?
Great. Yeah, I think they're fine.
Yep.
They'll come back with better landscaping.
Anybody else have comments on the February 6th minutes, please? I'll move for approval as amended. There's a second.
I second that.
Mr. Chair, just to confirm, item number 7 will study alternative stormwater solutions.
We're gonna leave it the way you had it written,
Okay, thank you.
okay? Yeah. And one abstention. Chip abstains. He was not here. Okay, members informational briefing. Anybody go anywhere, do anything? Turn on your mic.
It might not be the next meeting on March 6th, so.
Anybody else?
I might not be at the next meeting, March 6th either.
Oh, boy.
But you know what, if you need me, I could zoom in.
I'll be here.
So just keep that in mind.
I'll confirm in a quorum before we release the agenda.
Okay. 9 days ago, I went up to Santa Maria to discuss public comment with the Board of Supervisors reviewing the proposed changes to the lighting ordinance, and I wanted to let everybody know I was there. Staff update?
Nothing from me.
I think-
Okay. Anybody? Did I hear something? Okay. Item number 1. 488 Barker Pass Road. Is there anybody here for that, please? First
Hi.
time. Hi there.
Hi there. This is
Go
Daniel
ahead.
Wodlowski with Richard Beard Architects, joined with Kristen Stoyanova from Richard Beard Architects and Chris Merritt from Ground Studio representing the project, and the owners are listening in. Are we ready to?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Can you go to the next page? This is a project up on an undeveloped lot on Barker Pass up near the top. It's for a young couple looking to raise their 2 young boys. It's a high fire area, and the project plans to comply with all of the Montecito high fire regulations and is fully sprinklered. It's a 3,600 square foot residence, 530 square foot detached garage with a small utility basement for mechanical, and the total project size is just under 99% of the MBAR recommended FAR. Do you mind going to the next page? Thank you. This is the existing site. You can see it's a large meadow, sort of gently sloping to the east. And it's about 24 feet of slope cross section from the top of the site down to Barker Pass Road. It has a large eucalyptus grove. If you want to zoom into the upper left image, you can see there's a sort of eucalyptus screening against Barker Pass Road, and then a large meadow and some native oaks up midway on the site, and a couple more native oaks against the kind of southern westmost property line, and the rest of the trees are all non-native species. Next page. This is our neighborhood context from the aerial. If you just pan down briefly, please. Thank you. You can see it's a sort of classic Montecito level of development, and you'll notice the sort of varied nature of roof styles and directions and massing, and we're sort of drawing from that with our neighborhood context. If you go up to the images, you can see we're capturing. Yeah, thank you. Glimpses of a few different classic Montecito typologies, many of which are pulled off of the roadway pretty substantially, which is a part of our design direction as well. Next page. This is just a survey, so you can see undeveloped lot. There's an existing, what we believe is a former access road across the topmost area of the site. It connects to a private driveway on the north east corner. And then it's asphaltic across the site to an abandoned gate on the south east corner. And then there's an easement for the neighbors to have screened vegetation. Yeah, thank you. And there's a easement for the neighbors, which is why the topography ends short of our property line at the top of the slope there. And that's very heavily vegetated currently to help provide privacy for the uphill neighbor. And then you can see the native oaks are circled there in green with their canopies identified. And then again, the broad meadow sweeping down to Barker Pass. Next page. I'm going to skip this page for now, and we'll kind of come back to the landscape plan, and I'll have Chris speak to this part of the project, if you don't mind going to the next page. This is our architectural site plan. The plan, this is oriented true north, so you can see we're sort of working with a west-facing facade elements. The site is, again, with that cross slope, we're really working to try to pull the house off of Barker Pass Road as much as we can without requiring a fire truck turnaround. And then really trying to nestle it in along the existing contours, again, to just work with that landform and prevent the requirement of any extremely large scale retaining. The maximum retaining wall height at this point is 3'6", and it's actually at the kind of southeast corner of the pool, holding up sort of that existing large date palm. You'll see the garage is detached, and then we have the long gabled wing there in the middle. That's our sort of public spaces. And then we have a sort of the bedrooms are pulled further up the hill. We have a long bar with a flat roof proposed so that we can conceal PV panels in our PV array. And then the primary is that small gabled structure pulled the farthest up the hill, sort of overlooking the date palm and the pool terrace. We have a driveway off of the Barker Pass roadway through a access gate, and then the guest parking and the garage are a little bit lower than the house. So the whole house sort of steps up the hill. The garage is about 6 feet below the finished floor level of the main wing, and then the bedroom wings are again pulled up the house to sort of nestle it into the existing contours. Next page, please. So this is the interior floor plan and pool terrace layout. We have again, the garage. If I can get my drawing tools up here. Garage, you come up a series of steps into a sort of entry court. And as you turn and enter, you get a view out to the pool terrace. So we're really trying to highlight these longer moments where the landscape can sweep across and through the architecture. Again, we have the public wing at the front of the property, so to speak, and then it gets more and more private as the volumes work their way up the hill. Thank you. And then the pool and pool terrace are all pulled to the rear of the structure so that they're screened from the roadway and sort of create a nice private feeling in the rear yard. And then much of the upper area, I'll let Chris speak to this more directly, is meant to be returned to the garden state. Next page. So you can see from our exterior elevations, we're trying to draw from the historic context of sort of classic Montecito and Santa Barbara language, paying a nod to the local vernacular of the agrarian region that we have settled in, and elevating it to be a little bit more in tune with a modern family and their lifestyle. So you'll see common material elements here, stucco render with a sort of smooth skip trowel finish, some limestone intermixed with some Santa Barbara sandstone. And then in this rendition, we're showing a clay tile roof. We're using the site and the topography to try to conceal the massing as it works its way up the hill. And it's a one-story house. We're well below the max height limit with any of our ridge lines. And the garage is turned with one sort of single window facing the street to be a charming entryway to the property. And then the lower elevation here, the east elevation, you can see we're sort of nestled into that hillside. So this is from the uphill looking down the topography. You can see the bedroom wing and the primary wing are sort of buried in the hillside a little bit in this view. They're not really, but they really don't project much if you're looking at this from the uphill side where you might be trying to look over the building. We're using copper gutters and downspouts, natural finished wood cladding elements in small detailed moments, but our primary material palette is stone, stucco, and clay tile. And next page. So these are the long sections through the site, sort of looking at how the massing steps its way up the volume, or steps its way up the hillside, kind of revealing each volume sitting on a portion of the property that's level to it. So it's a sort of multi-split level house, but again, all one story as it climbs up the gentle slope. So on the top elevation, you're looking at the backside of the office. across the pool terrace to the dining room and bedroom wings beyond. You can see the garage on the left, tucked down in the hill. And then on the lower elevation, you're looking kind of through the auto court at the garage, again, not facing the street. And then the steps climb up that slope to the front door, which is sort of between the gabled volumes and the flat roof volume there. In this moment where the landscape is kind of extended across the site through. And if you go to the next page, we have a massing view just to help illustrate sort of how these forms unfurl on the land. So again, probably familiar by now, I'm sure, but the small garage and then the long gabled volume with the stone fireplace is the main public space, and the bedrooms tucking in behind with the pool terrace. And you can see the existing vegetation rendered here in a kind of transparent green. And then I'll send if you don't mind going back to the landscape plan, I'll let Chris Merritt speak to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, from the last page that you saw, the aerial axon perspective, the bulk of the work from a landscape perspective was the siding of the building with Richard Beard's team, just seeing how we can site it as nestled as possible and get the site as balanced as we possibly can. And it's early days from a landscape perspective, but we're looking at roughly about 500 cubic yards net import is what we're anticipating, or less. But from a design intent perspective, we really tried to consolidate most of the public space and landscape, the contemporary landscape, directly around the main house, between the bars of the building. And then on the east and the west side, reintroducing oaks. The neighbors to the south and to the north have existing live oaks, so we want to continue that oak woodland thread. So our goal is to create kind of more of a reinterpretation of an oak woodland on both the east and west sides of the property. Just really, again, consolidating more of the paving and the hardscape directly around the house, so the building's enveloped in a garden and nestled well in sight.
That it, please?
Yes, sir.
Questions, Chip?
Yeah, back to actually, David, can you go back to the axometric drawing? Can you tell us once again why you're going the flat roof for the back wing?
Yeah, that's the sort of kids' bedrooms, and there's a small playroom at the end. The idea behind creating a flat roof for that portion was it would give us an opportunity to locate a south-facing PV array, while also making that volume sort of secondary to the gabled volumes of the primary wing and the primary bedroom. So it sort of diminishes or quiets down the scale of that element on the project and lets a couple of the other spaces speak a little bit more freely, while also giving us a space for those beautiful solar panels.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Casey, questions, please?
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw in this survey, there's a couple of large oak trees up towards the top. Are we retaining those? And keeping
Yes.
those on the
Yeah.
site?
Correct.
Okay. And then the one large palm as well. And are you taking out the rest of the trees on the site, or are we trying to retain any of the others? Is it even worth it?
The on the west, actually the west part of the property there's a grouping of existing acacia trees
Mhm.
that would be removed. And the only other real stand of trees, the eucalyptus along the street frontage, which would be retained. So yeah, the oak I think you're referring to is this one. Those would stay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the palm would stay, and then this is that kind of stand of acacias here that would be removed.
Okay, that was my only question.
Robert, questions, please?
Regarding the grading, you have 500 yards of import? Is that what I
Cor-
heard?
Correct. Yeah, that's a preliminary estimate. That's correct.
Why do we, if you're cutting the house into the hill, why do you need so much?
In working with making sure that each of the bedrooms can sort of daylight out for emergency egress, we've pulled some of the volumes so that the rear face of them, the uphill side of them is level with the terrain as you exit. And that required some imported fill on the low side to sort of hold them up,
Right.
if that makes sense. And we've done that
Yes.
in a few instances to help balance the cut where the pool then exists and where some of the other parts of the massing exist.
Yeah, where the pink line is, where I just drew, that's exists. So the finished floor of the house is set at that pink line, which is essentially kind of the midpoint between the two bars of the building. So we're cutting a little bit uphill with the goal of keeping the walls low, like Daniel said, 42 inches high max, and then having to fill on the downhill side as a result.
Okay, great. No more questions.
Thank you.
Todd, please.
Where's your ocean view? Do you have I thought that area had ocean views, or at least some places around. No views offsite?
Unfortunately, none this time.
Okay,
You do get, I'll clarify, you do, if you walk up right up here to the very top, you get a very understory sneaking ocean view, but certainly nothing we can capture from the house, unfortunately.
okay. Okay, and then what is the thinking with the first thing you kind of come up to is the garage, and it's really understated? What is the thought, the thinking on that? Just
We,
interested in your comment on that.
yeah, you'll notice the driveway sort of curves off of Barker Pass. We're trying to sort of extend that classic agrarian experience of arriving at, sort of the carriage house and then continuing on your journey to the house and sort of sweeping the driveway in along the property again to sort of elongate your experience of arrival. And the garage, we are keeping it small, one for just the economy of that size of a garage for this home. And also we thought that an elevation with the gable and the kind of classic Montecito material palette could sort of become a charming little gateway to this auto court and sort of carefully introduce you to our architectural character without it being this, massive 4-car parking palace.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you been to the fire department yet, please?
We reached out to them to talk about the fire truck turnaround early on, but we haven't taken them anything with this level of development yet. No.
We are planning on submitting to them after we submit for our land use permit. At this time, we just submitted for Embark concept.
Are you aware that skip trowel finishes are extremely rare in Montecito? And it's normally a smooth plaster or light sand finish, please?
We no, I was not aware that specific finish was that rare to find in Montecito. I think we're very open to exploring a range of stucco finishes that feel very much in place. The skip trowel we like sort of softens and articulates a little bit more of the volume across the smooth stucco finish, but we're extremely open to studying that and making sure it feels tuned to this place.
I don't know for sure that the following question is accurate, but as I understand it, the fire department is going to start requiring 5 feet of distance around every building without any landscaping at all, rock or something of that nature. And hedges tend to be 3 to 5 feet minimum width, which would suggest that all buildings would need to be set off the property lines a minimum of 10 feet. Are you aware of those two factors that I just delineated.
I'm aware of the 5 foot, 0 to 5 feet, no planting. We're very familiar with that and work in high fire zones all the time,
And that,
including.
and that the Montecito is typified by a perimeter hedge. So maybe,
Yes.
okay, very good, thank you. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 1, 488 Barker Pass Road, please?
We do have one speaker
Okay,
online, Nita Vanderwerf.
Hi. I'm wondering if you all have investigated the integrity of the soil on that lot. We live above you. And I just wanted to make sure you're aware that there can be some difficulty with Rincon Shale.
Thank you for raising that. Yes, we have a soils report that they did soil borings at multiple locations across where we're proposing the structures, and we're aware of subsurface conditions that our foundation system will be up against.
Because we had to do extensive caissons and other protection for the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make sure you were well aware of that.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yes.
And the ADU,
ma'am, state law prohibits you and us from discussing ADUs,
okay,
okay? You
okay,
can do anything you want privately, but not in a public meeting, please.
okay. I wasn't aware of that. But
Yeah, well, that's one of the provisions of ADUs.
okay, okay. That's good to know. Because some of my
Okay,
questions had to do with that corner of the lot. Okay, well, okay. That was mainly it, was the integrity of the soil.
okay, thank you very much, Anita. Anybody else, please?
Thank you.
No additional requests.
Oh, well, please, we need a speaker slip, but come on up.
Yeah,
Come
just,
on up.
just before you leave. You can
Come on,
come
come
up.
on, come on, come on. Up, we want to anywhere you want or over where the lights just turned on. And just give us your name and then,
And I live at 500 Barker Pass Road. I live right on the other side of where the garage is proposed. So I have a few questions just about what the perimeter privacy is going to be that's proposed, and then what kinds of questions you would maybe ask if your bedroom was right there. Sure. Could you hear me all right? Great.
if you
Oh,
want to,
okay. Oh, thanks. So yeah, yeah, my bedroom's right there. I'm just wondering what kind of
perimeter
privacy or
landscape.
perimeter, materials are going to be used, either natural or walls.
Okay,
Yeah. Oh.
Can you just clarify where the
at the parking, the guest parking area and the garage.
Yeah.
That whole
fantastic.
area.
Thank you very much. Sorry, we just weren't, just making sure we were clear.
Yeah, it probably would be some sort of something that could fit thin here along the entire edge, potentially like a bay laurel or something similar to that. But I think, yeah, we definitely would want to talk with you and figure out something that works well with you and sympathetic to your side of the property too. I know you have some beautiful yuccas here and some really beautiful citrus here, so having it flow across so it connects well.
Okay, any other questions, please?
I guess the only other question I've had, but this is probably a few stages down the line, would be where the construction parking would take place, because that's a really busy road. It's kind of a blind corner. So I didn't know if they were going to be doing it on the property or needing to park on Barker Pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the back right, there's a little cabinet. On top of that cabinet, there's some speaker slips, would you please fill one out and give it to David? And ma'am, did you want to speak also? Okay, very good. Anybody else, please? Okay, so just as a follow-up question, Daniel, would you be receptive to these neighbors contacting you and having a one-on-one conversation outside the context of this meeting, please?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to offer, I wasn't sure if this was appropriate. I was going to offer to Anita to discuss privately any of her concerns around any other parts of the project that she's not eligible to speak to today.
Okay,
And
is-
any other neighbors or speakers.
How did they get your phone number, please? Is it on your drawings?
It is. If you go to the title page.
So you guys can grab that? Okay, very good. Anybody else, please? Okay, this is the very first time we've seen this. Comments, please. Tip.
Yeah, I like the, I think it's going to be a very nice project. I like the site layout. I think it's very sensitive and how the applicant tried to work with the site. But I have a little problem trying to visualize the house. So perhaps some inspirational images might be helpful.
Mhm.
And secondly, I think that there's some work needs to be done with the massing. I think the second wing should have slope roof. That's my opinion. And same as some kind of connection between the entrance and between the two wings. So overall site planning, I think it's good. The massing could be a little massaging to make it a better architecture, and then it will be very helpful to see the adjacent parcels, so we can have a better idea on the privacy issues between the neighbors. Thank you.
Casey, comments, please.
Thank you.
No, I really like the project. I think the siding is excellent in terms of the volumes and the massings. And I like how it's very low lying and settled into the hillside really gently. I think that that's all very positive. I agree with Tip about the roof line on the flat versus the gables. Perhaps explore that. It does, when I look at it more and more, I just go, it just seems a little off from some of the angles. But I hear you with the solar, wanting to have that present. But overall, I think I can support it going to the next level, and I am curious to see more on the actual materials.
Thank you.
That's it.
Robert, please, comments.
I think the project is well thought out, and the flat roof for solar is a good idea. I would just want to move this to the next level.
Rob, is that it, Robert? Rob, please.
I agree with the comments from Tip on the roof. I guess it doesn't, it's a little, well, some of the other aspects that what I find is that the entry to the front door is a little convoluted and a little understated. And so I believe that needs a little bit more enhancement happening, because when I come to the front area, there's a couple of walkways that go off in different directions. And so I always like to see, that the architecture kind of reinforces that sense of arrival to the front door. So I feel like it could use a little more of that. I do feel it's a nice project, and as far as the garage goes, that's where I'd almost like to see a little bit more interest in some of the architecture, and that the garage feels a little understated to me as the first thing you arrive at. But I think if you do the front door and do some of those enhancements, it'll come together nicely. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think you should wait to go to the fire department till you file the LUP, because my guess is the fire department may very well ask for things. I understand at this time, they're asking for full turnarounds. Which, we see almost every project that comes through Montecito. And that happened, maybe 2 meetings ago, 3 meetings ago, where people reported the fire department was not permitting anything except a turnaround, which are
Mhm.
fairly large
Mhm.
things on the ground.
Mhm.
It could move parts of the buildings around.
Mhm.
So I would recommend you do that long time before you get to land use permit.
Mhm.
I think that the portions of the project that I see are pushing the north property line. I think that it would be, if we're going to maintain the perimeter hedging everywhere and the probable 5-foot area around each building, and then also at the parking area to ensure that you have robust landscaping there to keep your visual items on your property and not on somebody else, that north property lines may need to be reconsidered. But besides that, did you want to say something else or not?
Yeah, and because along those lines with the neighbor is the comment was made about having bay laurel, and bay laurel is like bamboo. So I don't, it's going to be a problem for the neighbor as well. So to add to what you're saying, I think that parking in the garage and some of that may just need to be kind of slid away from that north property line. I think you're going to find that from the fire department and from your landscaping needs. So.
Mhm.
And I also agree, it's a very nice project, besides these, in my mind, relatively minor comments. So, where do we want to see this project next? I don't think it needs anything to do with enough further conceptual. Do you, anybody? Yep, roof, are you concerned about that or not? The flat roof? Are you so concerned that you would ask them to restudy it before the preliminary?
Yeah, I just feel like it's not there yet.
It's not ideal.
Yeah, the design is half baked.
You're okay with flat roof? You okay with,
I don't like.
okay, flat roof?
I was
Well, there are 3 people willing to commit and 1 person that would just as soon stay out of this fight here. Would you please restudy the roof over the children's bedrooms? Is that what that is?
Mhm.
Play area, just to see if you could find a solution that works for you that would be more traditional, please.
Certainly.
And then the fire department, I think, please go there tomorrow or as soon as you can get there. Okay, so besides that roof element and probable sliding of items along the north property down, we're good to get up to preliminary on this. So we'll come back on preliminary. We'll chat about materials as well as this. And then we'll probably end up one more on consent for final. But thank you for such a great first shot here.
Thank
Hey.
you. Appreciate
Yep.
appreciate all your comments.
And please do communicate with the neighbors.
Absolutely. Next steps are fire, neighbors, and study that roof.
Thank you so much.
North property line.
And north
And-
property line. Thank
Okay,
you.
item number 2, 2480 Sycamore Canyon Road, please. Anybody here or is it online? Okay,
Yes, can you guys hear me on my end?
yes, I can. Is this Mark?
Yes, it is.
Okay, please
Okay.
go ahead.
Good afternoon, board. My name is Mark Mansfield. I'm the designer / agent for Mr. and Mrs. Brian Finster. And I also have the owner, Brian, with us, joining us, just in case I don't have the right answer. He may have it for you. So basically, what we're proposing to do here is we're proposing to add a master suite to an existing single-family residence on Sycamore Canyon, 2480 Sycamore Canyon. It's basically it's 800 square feet net, 833 square feet gross. And it's pretty simple. It's not a complicated design by any means. we're farthest enough back from Sycamore Canyon Road with an existing masonry wall that's about 6 feet tall. So you barely see the home from Sycamore Canyon or the addition that we're proposing from Sycamore Canyon. So that's probably a good thing for Montecito area. If we want to, let's see if we can go to sheet number 2. There we go. There's our proposed site plan. I may want to skip back and forth a couple of sheets just to give you a clear picture of what's going away and what's proposing to come in. So yes, let's stay right there, the existing floor plan. Go one more sheet. Go another sheet again, please. There we go. So there's the existing floor plan as it is today. And what we want to do away with is this existing bath. It's a master, the master bedroom as it is today is where the cursor, oh, that's my cursor, sorry, is right below lower right corner of the building. The Finsters have a 5-member family, three kids, and they all, of course, as we know, they all deserve their own bedrooms. So we want to take that master bedroom that's there today, and we want to do away with the master, of course. And then if you go the next page from here, there's the master suite. And if you kind of take a look if you look a little closer to this drawing, you can see where the existing is being removed and where the new is being added. So it kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing away with and what we're adding. So basically that master bedroom, the existing master bedroom, will still have its own bath. But then the new master suite has its own bath, and the owners want an office as well, and so on and so forth. And then the one of the existing bedrooms above the existing master bedroom is enlarged a bit. And if you go back up one sheet again to the existing floor plan, you'll notice those pavers that wrap around the perimeter of the residence. We're going to recycle those as many as we can, if we can. And then if you go back down to the proposed floor plan, you'll see that we're kind of wrapping them around the way you see it. If you go down, let's see how many sheets, one more sheet, please. Elevations. So what we're looking at here is we've got our existing elevations and our proposed elevations together. And you'll be able to see where we're adding that new master suite. The very top south elevation, you can see where we're adding the master suite. And what we want to do is we want to match as much of the existing structure as possible. So it looks like it was all built at the same time, of course. I think we've accomplished that. We went back and forth. If you're still looking at that top proposed south elevation, we were going back and forth on sizes of windows for the new master suite, and per the owner's request, we didn't want them to be too big. They want to have some privacy in there. So that's the reason for the size of those windows. The exterior finish, we're matching the existing, of course. And if you look at the photos that I've attached, the existing exterior finishes on the right side of that page, you'll notice that it's white. And my notes, there we go. Can you scroll down just a tad bit so we can see the keynotes there? I'm sorry, scroll up, excuse me. Scroll up. There we go, right there. So what we've got is we've got two different exterior finishes going on, as you can see in the photos. One finish is the white smooth trowel stucco, eggshell white. And then we also have this white wood siding, and it's also eggshell white. So we're matching that smooth trowel stucco finish on the master suite addition. I think that'll be a nice look to where you've got it separated from the stucco finish to the wood siding, then back to the stucco finish, like you do with the rest of the house. If you scroll over to the left-hand side and look at the elevations again, you'll see how it breaks itself up like that. You can see that in both those, in that proposed south elevation or the existing south elevation. You've got the white siding, then you've got the stucco finish, and then it goes back to the siding. So we decided, let's have the new addition have the stucco finish. Now, as far as roof material goes, we'll obviously stay with the with the standing seam, metal standing seam roof that they have today, and we'll match the color finish on the top as well. And that's basically all we're doing as far as the exterior finish materials and look of the addition. Again, it's not a complicated idea. It gives the owners what they would like to have. It still has an interesting look to it. If we go down, let's see where are we at. If we go down one more page, please. Yeah, so here we are. So as far as landscaping and various things, and I heard you state that there's I don't know how new that is with the fire department, but to be away from the existing building or propose structure 5 feet minus landscaping, that might help our cause. If you look at the photo number 6 in the lower left corner, those are existing fruit trees that the owners had there you go. Existing fruit trees that the owners had planted, and they want to save those, of course. So we're gonna take those and move them. If you go up to the upper left of this sheet, I think I have a little better explanation of what they are. Trees, plants to be relocated. That's just 2 strawberry trees.
Mark,
So
this
on.
is our first review. I don't know if we need to get into that much detail at this point.
Oh, good. That's good news, because I'm not a big landscape guy.
Okay, can we move on then, please?
We can. That's basically all that I want to bring to your attention. It's just basically what we're proposing to do. And
Thank you very much.
that's it.
Questions, Robert,
No questions.
Stacy, questions?
One question. Why did you go from the horizontal siding on the same plane on the north face of the house on that same plane without any variation to the front facade, and then transfer it on the new addition just over to smooth stucco without some form of relief or transition?
Are you talking about the proposed north elevation?
Correct.
Why did I do that? Well, okay. I had a feeling that you were going to ask me about that. We may not do that. We may just carry the siding all the way to the end. But then you would, what do you do when you wrap around the corner there? So if you go down to the proposed east elevation, the lower right corner of the sheet, that's all proposed stucco finish. So then what you're saying is that I understand the question. That does make sense. And that's something that we can visit and discuss. But I'd like to, again, if you can zoom out just a tad bit, and go up to that existing or that proposed, a little bit up further on the page, please. Proposed south elevation. We like that look where it divides itself up from it divides itself up from the stucco finish to the siding. So I hope I answered your question somewhat. I mean, we could consider that on the other side, on the back side from that elevation.
That was my only question.
Tip,
All right.
questions, please.
No question.
Rob, questions, please.
Can we go to the driveway, please? You just,
Oh, you had
yeah,
it. There
right
you go.
there. You passed it right there. Did you consider, first of all, what is the thinking in terms of the driveway and the function, and what are you, is this in response to fire department concerns, or as to why you kind of brought all this paving all the way across the front of your house and then created a whole nother parking lot at the front of the house? What is the thinking there, please? And then with that in mind, I guess, let me add to it, did you consider stepping the new master wings, maybe stepping that back rather than having that in the same plane, since you seem like you're really pinched because of it?
Let me see if I can.
Two-part question.
Yeah. Let me see if I can understand the question properly. So what you're stating is that, of course, all the parking that you see in the site plan, it's all existing. We're not adding any new parking at all. You're talking about the pavers that are wrapping around.
No, I'm reacting to this like long spur of a driveway and a new parking area. And I guess I'm just wondering, did you look at other solutions, where maybe you didn't even need to go all the way across the front of your house with a bunch of paving? And if in fact you need to do
Oh,
that,
I see what you're saying. Okay,
know-
so again, I just wanted to make sure I understand, or that you understand as well. That's all existing parking, of course. And
oh,
so,
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought that was,
no,
I see the
we're not
word
adding.
existing now. For some reason, I thought that was new. So then with that said, then the other question was, did you consider stepping the new addition extension back so that it wasn't so kind of pinched, and so that the new addition wasn't in the same plane as the rest of the house?
Yeah, we had discussed that, but the owners preferred this look better simply because they've got that accessory dwelling unit in the back, and we didn't want to get too close to it. And also there's some other trees that were much larger, and it would have been more of a complicated process to, move some bigger trees perhaps, and so on. And, I mean, it's just like everything else. It's, costs comes into the picture as well. And also if you go back to the floor plan itself, the proposed floor plan, one sheet down or two sheets down, one more. It flowed the way we went. Oh, back up. It just flowed the way that the owners preferred to have the floor plan designed, the way we went about it. They like this design. It works for them. They didn't have a problem with that long
Okay.
extension of the elevation in the front.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Were you planning on repainting the whole house when you finish this project, please?
No, we hope not to. It's not cheap. If you go back to the
Okay,
elevations,
and are you aware that we only approve metal roofings with a matte finish, please?
it has a matte finish.
Excellent, okay.
The owners had to do that matte finishing after they bought this property, from what I understand. It didn't have it when they purchased this property, and then they had to come back and deal with that.
Okay, public comment. Is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 2480 Sycamore Canyon Road, please?
No requests.
Okay, this is the first time we see this project. Comments, Robert?
I feel it's a modest and well done project, and I think we should just move it forward.
Stacy, comments, please.
I agree with Robert. It's a modest project, and overall pretty agreeable. Just two comments when it comes back, and I'm fine with it moving to preliminary, is to restudy the window at the office, perhaps making it larger so that there's some relief in the facade. So it doesn't feel like a long tract home. And then just think about that breakup, because usually if you're going to change materials, like there's generally like a shift in the planes and the spaces just to justify that change of material. But I would say it's still fine to come back for preliminary if you would just but please consider those factors.
Yeah, comments, please.
Yeah, it's definitely a modest project. I'm just a comment. I'm just looking at the scale of the master suite compared to the scale of the whole house. It seemed to be rather large, but that's not what we are here for. So I think it's okay.
Rob, comments, please.
I agree with the other board members, but in kind of reinforcing Stacy's comment about having reason to change materials on the face, that's where I kind of further go back to my notion that I think the masters should step back and not be in that same plane. You're stepping it back on the rear, and I think you have plenty of room to step that back, and I think it would make a little bit more interesting in the presence of in the presentation of the elevation. But otherwise, I support the project.
Or belaboring the point on changing of materials, the office and master bathroom north wall could step farther north by even as little as a foot. And that will give you the break, and it will give you a slightly larger project, slightly more generous rooms, which you will probably enjoy. And of course, it's up to you what you'd like to do. So what do we want to do with this project? It's pretty simple.
Move it forward.
I don't know. Preliminary final consent?
Yeah.
Everybody okay with that? Okay, so you will not come before the full board again. You will come to this thing called the consent calendar, which is usually quicker. And we appreciate any ways that you might be able to address these comments.
Thanks
So thank
kindly,
you.
board. Appreciate it.
Okay. Item number 3, 220 Hot Springs Road. And for anybody that doesn't know this, item number 5, 227 Hot Springs Road has been continued. And if you were here for public comment, I just wanted to tell you so you weren't wasting your time. Okay, item number 3, please. 220 Hot Springs Road, please.
And we have a memo on this one. It has to do with the change to the project description.
Okay, we have 2. Okay, let's start with the we'll get back to this in a minute, but this is not the memo that no, let's go to a memo. I didn't know that that was in there. Yeah, okay, so please note that the applicant has removed the 378 square foot accessory structure from the proposed project and is instead proposing a 36 square foot detached powder changing room in the rear yard. I assume that's next to the pool or something like that. So, okay, and there was an FAR study that I did. This was still over, and I wanted to see how close or how far they were. So those are the numbers. This green 66 is within the circle, but it's number 21 rather than 20. So I actually picked a larger number. I think I picked 122 in the lower right-hand corner. Okay, so that's it. And then the other sheet. Next down. And that's how it works out. I think the next sheet is, yeah, that's. Okay, everybody with this? Okay, please go ahead. Gasper, is that what it is? Adam, okay, very good. Adam, please go ahead.
Hello. We're here to address the comments from the last hearing. So as you saw from the planner's comments, we removed the 375 square foot accessory structure. Oh, you have them. Okay. The second story of the garage and around 20% of the paved motor court. This allowed for more landscaping and a defined entry from the driveway to the main house. We also drastically reduced the amount of glazing on the front of the garage for the doors and the windows. We lowered the height of the garage itself and the square footage. And we are using Santa Barbara sandstone as the border and curbing on the border of the motor court paving. Our garage access and part of the existing house facade will have natural stone cladding. The plant palette was revised to be more Santa Barbara appropriate. As I mentioned about the garage, we drastically reduced the amount of glazing and removed the second story and revised the roof line of the garage. The new garage will have the same roof line as the existing. We'll match the windows, light fixtures, roof material, and stucco color to the existing house. And we made the front entry more prominent. It becomes the focal point upon entry to the lot instead of the garage. One of the comments from the previous meeting was that the garage was sort of a massive structure that you would see as soon as you came into the property. So we sort of reduced the scale of it and sort of accentuated the entry.
And did you want to show us those on the plans, please? So just before you do that, there's a project that we're reviewing, which is the garage, the entry, and the house on the right-hand side of that rendering. And then there's an ADU on the left-hand side, which we do not review. Okay, so just so members of the board, there's that sort of little piece of structure that's not anything within our review capabilities, okay? Please, go ahead.
Okay, so yes, in the rendering on the top left, you see the garage, the proposed garage with the front entry and the existing house sort of on the right. And then, oh, I won't mention the ADU. Okay, can you zoom out? It's David, right? David, could you switch to the next page? Okay, next page. Next page. Next page. Here's the existing house. Next page. Oh, if you go back, the existing garage is sort of second row, far left, that one, yes. We sort of use that as the inspiration. We're tearing that garage down, moving it towards the front. Next page. Next page. Okay, so here are some views. This would be the view from Hot Springs behind the fence and hedges. You see the proposed garage on the left, on the upper left, or sorry, the upper rendering with the new front entry and the existing house on the right. And then the view below is from the rear yard looking at the back of the garage, front entry on the left, and then sort of the existing house on the far left. Next page. And then the top view is looking at the back of the garage, the front, the back of the entryway, and then the existing house. And then the bottom view is the front facade, a little bit different angle. Next page. Front view again, and then the sort of the back behind the garage. And next page. And then the study of the view from Hot Springs with the gate. So so from this view, I think the concern was that we had proposed sort of a lantern effect previously, where we had a lot of glazing on the front of the garage. So we drastically reduced that. It's solid. There's only one window on the front of the garage. Next page. I think that's everything.
Is that it?
Yes, that's everything.
So you're done with your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Whoops, not quite excellent yet. Stacy, questions?
Going back, did you guys study? Now, I see that you took off that other building that was in front by the oak trees. Did you look at positioning the garage at a 90-degree turn? So when you're coming in, that you could then turn to the right and go into the garage instead of necessarily coming straight into garage doors as you enter the lot? Did you did you study that?
I think we were trying to avoid that because what was the reason? Well, we were trying to create sort of a kid's play area sort of behind the garage. So if you look at the proposed site plan,
Hmm.
um,
See a lounge area for adults behind the garage.
it would be next to the right of that lounge area. Keep going. Keep going. Oh, wait, where's I'm looking for the site plan.
I'm looking at Arcadia Studio, the landscape plans.
Oh, okay.
Which, is there anybody from Arcadia to represent their work?
Hi, yes, I'm on the call.
Hi.
Yeah, the child's play area would be on the lawn to the right, and I think the garage is helpful for separating the space from Hot Springs Road, which we know is pretty popular and busy. So it's also for noise to create more of a front yard, backyard setup.
The question was, did you study it in the other location?
For the garage, I would leave that to
Correct.
the architect to answer that.
I don't. I know.
This is-
Yeah.
90 degrees the other way?
Yeah, I believe that was one of the comments we had in the last review with you.
Yes. Any approximation to that oak tree would compromise the roots. So we were trying to kind of keep it away. And the whole idea was to enclose the backyard to kind of have a more silent setup for the back rooms of the house.
Did you consider just doing a site wall to separate the front from the back as opposed to using an entire structure?
No, we did not consider that.
Okay, and then two, the central, it's almost like an appendage on the back of the garage in some of the elevations. Is that with all glazing? Can we look at that, David, in the elevations?
It's a staircase going down to the basement.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand that. Yeah, you passed it, David. Go back to the renderings, I think. Back a couple sheets. Because it really shows up in the rendering, right there. Yeah, so that's just to accommodate a staircase?
Yes.
Okay,
And we're using that staircase to provide a little bit of light to the basement. That's why we have the large windows, relatively.
okay. All right, those are my questions.
Chip, please, questions?
David, can you go back to the site plan, the landscape plan? Okay, so my first question is the pool and the pool cabana is within the rear yard setback. And my second question, it would be for the garage, the back, the driveway in front of the garage. How many feet is that from the garage door to the edge before the tree?
Door to the edge.
Do you see where the round tree, where the trunk? Right in front of the garage, next to the front door. I guess my question is, what is the backup
Yeah.
distance?
It's about 30.
Huh?
About
Yeah, I'd
30.
say 35 feet.
So how deep is the garage?
They're pulling underneath the tree tip. That
Yes.
space is under the tree.
But okay, I see the edge, right, the paving edge. And the garage is 20 feet deep.
Yes,
How deep is the garage? 20 feet?
20.
So it looks like the backup is about 20 feet.
The backup?
Yeah.
Is about 30.
Huh?
A little bit more. It's about 30.
Okay, because the scale, it looks like it's a little less than the garage, the depth. That's why I'm asking the question.
It sort of extends under the canopy there.
It's 31 feet.
So what's that round trunk? Oh, so that's not a tree?
Those aren't the tree trunks.
Oh,
Those are all a bunch of.
very nice. I thought you planted a new tree right in front of the driveway, so.
Any other questions, Tim?
Yes, I have one more. So the FAR of 123,
7.
127?
It's 127, right?
Which one's it?
I think it's 132.
132.
So that obviously excluded the ADU.
it includes it.
In the part 3, down there, it says detached accessory dwelling unit, 800 square feet.
Oh, yes, included.
Right there. It's part of the detached, as it should be. You did that correctly, but that's the result of it.
And, okay, that, I guess, answered my questions. Thank you.
Robert, questions, please.
No questions.
Rob, questions.
I just have one question and it's probably more architectural, so I might be off base on it, but the center entry feels to me like it's a little different architecturally than the wings of it. What is they don't feel like they're they look like two different buildings to me, I guess. What is the thinking architecturally?
Trying to give some sort of a some curb appeal, it's sort of to act like an anchor for the house. Add some variety of scale, I guess you'd say.
I guess as opposed to maybe adding, more of a tower element with a roof on it,
Tower element.
or something with a roof that matches the wings. I guess that's what I was reacting to.
Oh, like a sloped roof?
Yes. Did you study that or did you
Yes.
think about that or that's?
Yeah,
is-
I think we preferred to
Okay,
introduce a
okay.
little bit different language for that accent piece.
And we wanted to make the building that I cannot name work with the whole concept.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if we're supposed to talk about should we talk about, it has a relationship to the ADU, sort of.
We do not talk about the ADUs here.
All right.
If you don't like it, vote for different
No,
people in the
it's
legislature.
better.
Okay, along Rob's question, so architectural guidelines. Design elements should be consistent within the project. I don't find the entry element to be that. Building height and scale should be compatible with the style of the house. Additions to existing structures and the constructions of secondary buildings on the already improved property should be in an appropriate and well-designed relationship with existing buildings. Would you please explain, given these written guidelines, how that entryway fits in with this, please?
On our previous,
Go ahead.
yeah, on our previous version, we wanted to create a curb appeal. So we created, I don't know if you remember, it's been a while, but it was this glass garage with a second level with a junior ADU on the top. So we wanted to create a wow factor. So basically, and one of your comments, I believe it was your comment regarding if anybody enters, where is the entrance? The entrance was kind of tucked in. We wanted to make the entrance be obvious that that's the entrance and that's where you're supposed to go. And we wanted to keep the wow element while following your recommendations about making the garage smaller and proportional.
To make the front entry more prominent, because the previous design, we kept the old front door, which is tucked around the back.
Can we go to the floor plan? There's a floor, maybe it's on the landscape plan. Yeah. This is the new two-story element or story and a half element, correct? From my point of view, you're over the FAR. This does not look like a consistent element. And if this garage was somehow relocated somehow, you could substantially reduce the square footage on the property, get it much closer to the FAR. You're at 132. I believe the study I did showed about 75%, which is my line is about 113. That I think that would go a long way towards solving this problem. And then Stacy's comment was somehow create a wall from there to here to get your sound privacy. I certainly understand that on Hot Springs Road. I think it's a very well thought out idea. But I think that this element right here is causing you a lot of angst, or causing me to have angst. I won't speak for the other members of the board. So the question is it possible in your mind to design the project to substantially reduce or eliminate this two-story element, please?
The oversized foyer, or basically, I mean, proportionally, I don't think it's that big, but it's gonna be kind of like the distribution space where someone can go to the left to the basement level or go to the right to the den or to the different areas of the house. It's gonna be like a welcoming and very elegant space, high ceilings with a nice chandelier and big windows towards the back. And it's a concept that we're kind of like really, we would really like to have that, that effect on the house, just to make it a little more elegant of an entrance.
Also, the previous design had sort of a side, like a door there, but it didn't really look like a front entryway. And we've sort of interpreted the comments I thought we kind of were thinking that the board sort of wanted a more pronounced front entryway, like a more traditional entry that faces the street. And that's why it does have some mass to it.
And keep in mind that the large oak totally covers this from the street. And we're gonna be adding a 60-inch oak on the lower left side of the where the ADU is. It's gonna be leaning a little bit towards the driveway, so it's gonna create a nice. It's gonna smoothen the view from the outside towards the inside.
We have at least one public and comment letter. I think a second one came in this morning.
That's the reply.
That's the reply. Okay, so we have one. I believe this neighbor is to the north of you.
Yes.
we are writing you regarding case da-da-da, which proposes the demolition of an existing 480 square foot detached garage and the construction of a new 648 square foot two-story garage, 386 square foot garage access building and accessory structures, the project located at 220 Hot Springs Road. The project is a component of a series of significant renovations to the property, including the construction of a new pool, the construction of an ADU. We understand that the pool and ADU have been approved and are either complete or nearing completion. As neighbors of the property, we are highly concerned about the lack of screening that has been implemented in relation to these renovations. Our property located at 222 Hot Springs Road shares a property line on the north of the subject property. The property itself is relatively small at 0.43 acres, which is non-conforming for the 2E1 single-family zone. The 800 square foot ADU nearly already constructed on the property is located only 4 feet from the property line. Currently, separating our project from the ADU is a relatively short wooden fence and some smaller hedges along our property. Okay, I'm uncomfortable about reading anything about ADUs. In total, due to the height and density of the recently constructed and newly proposed structures, these renovations are likely to negatively impact the visual character of the neighborhood. For these reasons, we strongly urge MBAR to require the project's landscape plans to be revised to include additional screening between the subject property and the neighboring properties. Specifically, we would appreciate the planting of additional tall hedges and/or trees along our shared property line to promote increased privacy between the properties. We appreciate your time and consideration, Michael Smith. Is there anybody else that would like to address the board on item number 3, 220 Hot Springs Road, please?
No additional requests.
Okay, so we have seen this project once. Really? I thought it was more than once. Okay, and we are on for concept, yes, further conceptual comments. Stacy, please.
I'm not inclined to pass this to preliminary at this point. I think it has to come back for more conceptual review, especially having to do with the inconsistency of the architecture still in the front. I do appreciate, though, that you guys eliminated one building and dropped the height down on the garage, but I think it still needs to be studied with moving it. You did originally structurally have all of your parking to save the tree previously, and I know that you can still do that with the garage building if you move it, but study it. Maybe I can be convinced, but a more convincing, more architecture that's more consistent with the existing architecture on the site of the main house in some way or form. I did notice too, I'm not inclined to pass it with the FAR as it currently is. I see that there's a large basement space. That's correct. Below grade. That also is pushing your FAR? It's not? Oh, it's not habitable? It's just storage?
We'll get into it later.
Okay,
It's
that's
not
fine.
counted in the FAR.
It's not counted in the FAR.
The FAR number you're seeing includes the ADU.
Yes, it does.
It does, yeah.
As it should.
Yes, but still at 132, it still seems high for this size lot. And also too, I think the neighbor has a good point regarding screening. And that really needs to be addressed as well.
Yep, comments, please.
Yeah, so before I make my comments, so it seemed like the ADU was built and the pool also was built.
Yes.
And did your firm responsible for the ADU and the pool?
Say that again.
Did your firm respond to the swimming pool and everything else?
Respond to it?
Yeah, did you design it, your firm?
Yes,
So you did all of that. So now you're moving into the main house.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so
I do this, my office does the civil engineering and Adam does the architecture.
right. Yeah, so I definitely I think the FAR is just way too high for me, the way I see it. And so that's a problem number one. And then, I vaguely remember when you guys were here, what, a couple months ago, and the garage used to be a two-story element. That was what, how much?
It was almost a year ago.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that somehow it did look much better last time, even though the garage was overskill. Maybe because, and by the way, I appreciate the fact that you provided all the perspective. I mean, the axle, which is very helpful to help us to visualize the project much better. However, in your case, I don't think it helped. It really show me that the design is not working, and as a couple members brought it up, it's the front. It's just massive. It's definitely a wow factor. Much more wow than we like to see compared to the other project we saw that we can't find the entrance. This one, all you see the entrance. And so that really doesn't work for me. And when you look at that, I know we're not commenting on the ADU, but I look at just your rendering, you have so many elements from the left to the right. It's just a little bit convoluted. And, so I really believe that you need to bring the FAR down. And you need to really redesign the project to make sure that the main house, everything goes together a little better. And because of that, I think that this probably needs to come back for further conception.
Robert, comments, please.
Well, I agree that it's a aggressive proposal. The architecture is very inconsistent and frankly, incoherent. So you need to work on that. And I think you need to bring the FAR down a bit. That's all.
Rob, comments, please.
Sure. I mean, I think I think the project has improved from what I remember seeing it last time with the glass and so forth. So I think there's things that are workable with this and getting getting the main entry scaled down and consistent architecturally with the wings, whatever that style is, I think works. I think it's worth studying at least and looking at Stacy's comment about maybe spinning, rotating the garage 90 degrees and then seeing what that does, because you already have kind of hardscape and paving in there. And if you could make the circulation work, then you could basically pull all that paving out where that oak tree is and really kind of just pull a lot of the paving out of the front yard. So it might allow you to reduce the paving, but I think the project is, I think you've done a lot of things that are good and that you can hold on to, and there's things that can be easily fixed or readily fixed. The landscape plan, the layout of that, it feels pretty good to me. I know the pool is, I think you can go to 5 feet in the setback or something on the pool. So I understand why you've done that, and you have a nice big yard for the kids in the back. So I think there's something that you can work with out there, and you won't be that far off, and this stuff can be easily fixed. So anyways, those are my comments. Thank you.
I also think the FAR is too high. Now, we see a lot of projects here and have a lot of comments. On another project, 1 or 2 meetings ago, Stacy brought up something about a structure where they could go under oak trees if you do the correct kind of footing. You hand dig it, you put down some kind of a deepened footing and then a grade beam or something of that nature.
We're doing that for the hardscape right now. Keep in mind that there's a basement underneath the garage. If we were to rotate the garage, we would have to eliminate the basement.
I'm not going to vote for this, so I'm trying to get you an approval. So I'm not sure what you have to do that. But I think if you reload one of the I don't like that entry. I think it's inconsistent in style, the area that I wrote. I don't think it's appropriate in terms of how the architecture fits together. I've never said this publicly before, but as odd as it may seem for a community as wealthy and famous as Montecito, I personally think the character of Montecito is modest-cito. And I don't see that this structure is modest. And I think that that's the character of how buildings in the community, they're not too big, they're not too tall, they're not too close to the setbacks. They're kind of, respectful of others. And I don't see that yet. It seems like you keep trying to push it and make it important and special. One of the things that's interesting about moving that garage, if you do it, and I understand the comment about the basement, but all of a sudden if depending on where you put the wall, the site wall for sound, which I agree is a good idea, all of a sudden you increase the whole usable yard by 400 square feet. And you use up part of the yard here in the lower left-hand corner of this drawing that's not going to be used by anybody probably. I mean, it's nice for the entry and I like that. But in terms of actual usability, I think it can be much more useful to do something else. So I've never to date voted for a project over an FAR of 110 unless there's a neighborhood study that supports that. There are areas in town where 180 that I will vote for, but they're already very, very crowded areas. But this is not one of them according to the study. So
How can our neighbors have got 150 plus FARs in that map?
let's go back to my study, please. Right there. So I see 1, 2 on Butterfly, both on Butterfly. Well, I am sure they were not done with this board. I hate to bring this up, but there was a board that was approving things way over the FAR, and the Board of Supervisors chose to bring people on that would no longer do that because the members of the community felt that those large structures were irrevocably altering the community, and they didn't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, particularly the 165 and the 135 across the street, which are closer to us than on Butterfly.
165. Oh, right. Okay. I think all of those, and some of them, I think, it's that one of the ones that was built in 1910. There's one along in here somewhere. It's just massive.
They're both recently remodeled. Those.
Okay, well, they may not have added any additional square feet. They may have just, moved things around. So for my vote, I've told you what I'm going to do. You can, okay?
Sure.
Yep.
Can I
Yes,
make one more
please.
comment? This project really, in a way, it kind of troubled me a little bit because I think the way I see it, it's kind of like a piecemeal approval. You get approval for one thing after the next, and suddenly now you come back with the project. And I believe that mistakes were made in the process up till now on what you have done to the site, and you continue go down the path of making it worse than what it was before you guys touching it. Because of that, I'm not. There's something you cannot fix anymore. What's built is built, and now you're adding what you're adding, and I just feel like you're making it worse by keep adding it. So I'm not sure how can you go back and make it better? Certain decision been made and built already, and that's really my problem looking at the project. If it came in as one package, we would comment that, how we would see it, how everything work together. Now we stuck with thing that halfway built, and the other half it just doesn't work. So that's just my opinion.
Okay. Is there anything else, please? It's tough. I get it. Good luck.
Keep in mind that you're seeing the different stages as the ADU and then the house improvements. You're basically taking the ADU, which you say you won't be accounting for as a major factor in FAR and in our, construction phases. So why taking, why exclude the ADU in previous projects and not on ours?
Which project did we exclude it in?
You mentioned on the previous projects that you cannot even mention the word ADU.
And we're trying not to do that in this hearing too. County council, okay, so several years ago, the FAR guidelines came back through for review by the Board of Supervisors. And the comment from county council was state law mandates that ADUs can be a certain size. If people want that size, good. They would have to have other elements of the project reduced so that they can have that large of an ADU. That was the direction. So you chose to create a project, and now the main house is being restricted by that. That was your choice, not ours. We had nothing to say about it at all, zero.
We also removed the 375 square.
Yes, you did, and we want to thank you for that. But maybe you haven't. Okay, so I think we have anything else from anybody, please? Good luck. We'll see you when you come back. Item number 4, which will be our last item today. Item number 5 was asked to be continued to the next meeting. We have a public comment letter. Our comments were MBA members generally like the architecture and design. Rob, 5 minutes? Yeah, let's take 5 minutes. we're back on. We just took a 5-minute break. So MBA members generally like architecture and design, mass, bulk, and scale appropriate to the neighborhood. MBAR members appreciate efforts to protect the large, significant oaks, plural, on site. Some members requested that the third level above the garage be eliminated or relocated away from the abutting roadway. One member cannot support the project with the third level element. Study options to relocate the parking areas to south side of property and eliminate the multiple curb cuts, driveways. Restudy and simplify pathways east of tennis court and main portions of the dwelling. Study options to add more structures to the understory planting, more structure to the understory planting design to integrate into the architecture, confirm that all exterior light fixtures meet code requirements.
We have a memo on this one.
Oh, boy, all this stuff happened. Pursuant to section such and such, a basement shall be counted as a story if its floor to ceiling height is 6.5 feet or more, and more than half of its height is above the average level of the adjoining ground surface. The proposed basement level, which includes a garage, has a floor-to-floor height of approximately 9 feet. The applicant team has been working with planning and development to confirm and clarify the basement element. Based on the calculations provided by the applicant team, along with detailed elevations, planning and development supports the garage and other storage areas falling below the average level of the adjoining ground surface. Therefore, the basement garage does not constitute a story, and the overall project is consistent with the residential E1 zone district standard, which allows a maximum of 2 stories. Okay. Anything else before anything else? No. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Watson. I'm Steve Fort with SEPS Land Use Consulting, sitting in for Shelby today. With me today in person is Andrew Petrovsky with Michael Limber Architects. I believe online we have Alexander Ford, also from the architectural firm. And then I believe we have Cheryl Fields and Scott Schrader from Scott Schrader Landscape Architecture Firm. We are back for further conceptual. I won't repeat the minute comments that you just went over. We realized that there wasn't a complete consensus about that tower element, we'll call it, the taller element. But there was some support, and unfortunately, some of the people that supported that are not here today, or some of the members, I should say. There has been a bit of a redesign to that portion of the project that Andrew will go through. I was going to mention the planner memo, but you touched on that, supporting that it's not considered a 3-story element. We do have an additional rendering. Hopefully you're okay with taking a look at that. We do have a public comment letter from an adjacent neighbor who opined in support of the proposed project. Again, I'm going to let Andrew go over the revisions to the project that are addressing comments and the owner's desire for certain elements of the project. And I think we'll go from there. And hopefully, I hope you agree that kind of consistent with the planner memo, that we have nestled that portion that there are some comments on into the existing site. But I'll let Andrew take over and prepare for questions.
Sure. So just as a preface before we jump into this, I just want to say from the start of this project, we've wanted to bring some magic up to the top of Coles Road, like there used to be when the Eucalyptus Hill Mansion was there originally. And this tower element and everything else we've planned for this property has, been in the vein of trying to enhance and preserve the character up there. So going back to the notes, MBAR members generally like architecture and design, mass bulk and scale appropriate to neighborhood, great. Feel like that's been a consistent thread through the first two times we've been here, and we've tried to continue refining some of the elements, which you'll see today. We've also taken efforts to get rid of a generator, balance grading. We had that lengthy discussion with Bill Spiewak last time to really clarify all the oak tree protections. And we've also reoriented and added and subtracted curb cuts in order to make this project as optimized as we can. If we could jump to the site plan, please, that would be helpful. It's towards the end of this. It's like the second to the last page on this PDF, I think. One more above. Thank you. Okay, to refresh our memories, we have a main house with two wings. The northern wing is that the tower element, and the southern wing is the large gabled wing that looks over the tennis court. Just before I jump into the changes, let me keep going through the comments here. The oaks, we already talked about that. Eliminating the third level above the garage. So we realized that this is something that required a bit of back and forth with our planner and her supervisor even to really get squared away. And we are cognizant of MLUDC and have studied it in great lengths to make sure that this whole house and project is conforming to that. So just want to say that as a preface, we did go ahead and change the elevation to that. I don't think we need to jump there yet because I want to touch on the site plan one more time. However, the suggestion from previous meetings to study the site from a program standpoint of shuffling some of the elements around, distributing some of the bedrooms around the property. I want you all to know that we did take a really good look at that and, in good faith, tried to see what we could come up with to make that work. This property and house is being designed for a young family, and we just couldn't come up with a configuration that separated the kids' bedrooms from the primary bedrooms and made the clients happy. As a father of a toddler, I get it. And so we're staying in that lane. And that's why the plan is basically the same as last time with the exception of curb cut to the west property line being removed right behind that viewing pergola. And then the landscape plan has been greatly simplified from a hardscape perspective, but it's also been enhanced with a more structured understory as per some of the comments from last time around. So let's see. Study options to relocate the parking area. Just one small note on that. There was a suggestion from one of the previous meetings to look at altering the south property line to tuck parking down there. Our owners do not want to pursue property line adjustment for varying reasons. There's also historical elements right at that property line from the original Coles estate that we don't want to meddle with. And so this is how we resulted in the planned parking areas that we do have. Let's go to the elevation sheet, please. I believe it's on the next file. It's the other file that starts with ARC and a couple down there. Okay, so the elevation that we've all been trying to come to a consensus on is that one in the lower right. That's the one that is the most prominent, I guess you could say, in terms of showing that tower element that we've been proposing. We've taken a look at this and how to make the scale more compatible to the neighborhood and create something that's more charming and better scaled while still keeping that sort of carriage house vernacular that we're going for. And you can see where the chimney is, that all used to be a, let's call it a monolithic tower element that was conforming to the code by being that tower element that you get the extra 8 feet from. The normal height limits, we've gone away with that. We're meeting the height limits without that extra 8 feet now. And we've demonstrated that in, there's a roof site plan that we can reference if we need to. But just to talk through it further, we're now not proposing any architectural elements that have to use that provision of the code. We've also done this sketch. The sketch that's in front of you is actually done over a picture that we took on the site. So those are the actual oak trees and the exact thing the limbs are doing and the exact thing that the hillside's doing, with the exception of what we're proposing, just for everybody's reference. Let's see. And then to show you the one other ramification of that elevation change, if you look at elevation 2, the top one, instead of having a monolithic square tower over that wing, we've instead wrapped around to that east elevation by having a large gable element, which we feel provides a nice bookend to the other southern wing over by the tennis court. And again, it drops you down about 8.5 feet from the tallest point of what was being proposed there previously. Which, you know, I think we all know that every foot counts here, and we hope that an extra 8.5 feet goes a long way to the community. The other big part of this that we've changed is the landscape. If we could go a couple more pages down on this file, please. And I'll just do a very brief comment on it, and feel free to have interaction with Scott and Cheryl as you need. The last couple of meetings, there were comments about all the pathways sort of crisscrossing the site. Now we've got 2. So we've simplified it a lot in that central courtyard underneath the main anchor oak tree there to the east of the southern wing of the house. And in terms of a structured understory, you can see that we've made a really deliberate push here to start having groupings of plants instead of just having them scattershot around the site, while mostly letting the beautiful oak setting and the natural undergrowth that we have there right now just speaking for itself and not meddling around it too much. Confirm all exterior light fixtures meet code requirements. We have the lighting team on board. They've provided revised sketches and drawings that show that we're concealing lights to be dark sky. So that's our presentation, and happy to keep the conversation going.
Excellent. Questions, Tip, please.
Can I see the roof plan of the tower?
Where would that be?
That would be at the end of the other ARC document. I think the very end. Yep.
And let's see now. Can you zoom in a little bit? I can. Uh, So, okay, let's see now. Which portion is the gable roof?
Are you asking about the new gable roof that's wrapping around the corner?
No, because it seems like you're hipping down at the driveway.
Correct.
The back is gable.
Correct.
And where does it show on that roof plan? At the gable, I just can't read the roof plan.
There, it kind of has, you see where the chimney is?
Yeah.
The ridge of that gable starts basically right where that datum marker is.
Andrew,
Maybe
Andrew,
grab the mic.
please do that. Please use that. Thank you.
Okay. So the new gable we're proposing is this little line, and then it wraps around, and this is the hip that you see. The sketch we did is standing here. That is another hip, yes.
Is that all your questions?
So I guess get to my two questions. Number one, why does there have to be a gable in the back? That's question 1A. And question 1B, that why the chimney is so wide?
So the first question, why does it have to be a gable on that side? In reality, it doesn't. That was our first shot at presenting something that was simple, not too high, not too visually cluttered, but we could finesse the design of the roof any which way to further improve the project. In terms of the chimney being wide, that is simply saving room for other vertical vents throughout the house that need to pop up, and trying to condense everything into one spot so that we don't have a bunch of whirligigs all over the roof and stuff like that, in addition to the Barker ester and all that.
So half of it is a chimney, a real chimney. So you have one fireplace.
Right now, we have one fireplace, but we've gone back and forth on the need to support multiple, which is a part of the reason too.
And then I guess one more question with 1C. And the seemed like the roof pitch is 612.
Yeah, generally.
Have you looked at like, I'm just looking at your beautiful rendering here, it looks very beautiful. Spanish revival. Have you looked at the option, maybe reduce the roof pitch down to something more in line with Spanish revival, 3.5, 12, 412? Is there a reason why it had to be 612?
I don't want to get on too much of a tangent, but we've in particular been studying Majorcan agrarian precedents, and not just Spanish revival, but going even further back to the threads that people were tugging on when they built stuff in Montecito. A lot of those buildings had slopes that were similar. I think, again, just like the answer to the first question, I think there's further finessing that we can do, but right now this was the best way to make the program needs met, the section needs met. There's only so many ways you can develop this while getting that tight of a floor to floor amongst those couple of stories that we're proposing. And yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Stacy, questions, please.
Just parking. Going from previous, I know we were parking below the tennis court, correct? And we've taken that out.
Yes.
And do we have it just down to like just the garage spots coming in, and then 2 more spots for guest parking just to the right, and that's it?
Correct.
Is that enough?
Plus one.
Okay.
For ordinance, it's enough.
Okay.
For ordinance, it's enough. And
If that,
Okay.
Uncovered.
the uncovered are there's 2 squares actually on the right. One for the home, one for the future ADU.
Oh, where's the other? Okay, because I can see 2 coming off of the steps coming. There's 2 squares in there.
There's 2 squares in there.
Okay.
It's tight, but there's 2.
Okay. That was my main question. That was it. Yep.
Robert, questions, please.
Historic property, right past this, right?
Correct.
Though it's kind of vacant now. Can I see, and the tennis court is existing, correct?
Yes.
Can I see a Google map of how this fits in? Thanks, David.
And the original property was actually hundreds of acres,
Yeah.
starting at the top of the hill.
I remember walking it. Oh, so the plan below right is what was proposed for the big site?
That is a separate property and a separate project from, I believe, 2020 that was permitted.
But not built.
Correct.
And then up on the middle, we see the tennis court and the house you're proposing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. No more questions.
Bob, questions, please.
I don't have any questions.
As a result of the massive fires, I am reminded through one of my associates up here that all buildings in the code, 5 feet, no landscaping next to buildings, and no trees within 15 feet, right?
Unless they're existing. All these
So he can
Construction.
he can overhang his building?
Sorry, yeah, well, what's gonna happen is his insurance is gonna tell him that he has to cut the canopy, so there can be, well, right now, insurance is saying no canopy over the roof lines, at all. But that's going to be, and fire will come and say 10 feet of clearance of canopy above the roof line. But I know insurance is gonna say no canopy above the house, but you can have, so they can plant a building in the existing trees. They can't plant trees, new trees, next to proposed or existing buildings.
And the reason I bring it up, okay, I'm on CAL FIRE right now because I was thrown off of 2 separate plans over 2 years. I felt very good about that. But it's self-esteem, but my sense is it's getting hotter, probably drier, and I can't see that fire departments and things are not going to pull everything back. So given that assumption, isn't this beautiful rendering probably not going to be there in 5 years or 7 years when the fire department or insurance comes in and tears it back? And don't we see a building far more exposed than here, please? Isn't that likely? That's the question.
I believe that if we were to go and re-story pole it based off of the changes, I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
not to, but hypothetically, I think you would see that there's a lot fewer canopy interactions. You know, we've been doing this dance with Bill Spiewak over the last couple of years to really hone in on this. And we feel confident that with the exception of a couple of limbs here and there, that we'd really be able to avoid a lot of cleanup. We're also implementing an exterior fire suppression system on this project, both on the architecture and the site.
So where are you planning on putting the tanks for the fire suppression system?
That
The life of me, I can't see, you've got 2 driveways that are almost right next to each other in an otherwise area that has almost no driveways. For the life of me, I can't see why that driveway can't come up and somehow, somewhere in here, maybe it's on the side of that, maybe it's in the basement below this, but from coming this way, I can't understand why this area, which is so prominent coming up, has to be that 3 stories and can't have the dirt in front of it. Could you answer why these other possible solutions couldn't work, please?
Again, as a design professional that's been asked to carry out what our clients are asking for from the get-go, we were told to limit automobiles on the actual top of the property as much as possible. And so we've relegated the parking as far to the property lines while staying out of the setbacks as we could. And if you look at the historical wall to the south, the existing tennis court, which we were instructed to keep, and all the oak trees all over the place, that was our best shot. I think we'd be happy to entertain moving that, turning the northern one off and bringing back the one west of the tennis court if we had to as a possible solution. But we really don't want to be having cars up in that central area around that great oak tree.
So I want to explore that west. Can you get parking in the west that's covered?
So the west is actually the front setback as
Okay,
determined by the planner. So we have a pretty severe setback.
yeah. So the answer is probably no.
The answer is probably no.
Okay. Public comment, is there anybody that would like to address the board on item number 4? 607 Coles Road, please. I know we have at least one letter. Do we have anybody online?
No speakers.
I live at 601. Does anybody know where 601 is? East, west, north, south of
It's
you?
just to the west, right?
To the
The west of that area that we were just talking about,
So it's across the street.
with the terracotta roof and that circle grass.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so can we go back to the letter, please? So she'll drive by this every day. Right.
Yep.
The owner, as it is currently planned, the owners of the property and their architectural team have been very respectful of any concerns that I might have as a close neighbor. I have been kept informed about the plans for the property and find them excellent. I believe that the current design works well with the existing landscape and character of our neighborhood. I have heard that there has been a suggestion to create an additional building for the garages instead of having the garages tucked under the hillside as currently planned. I think the fewer structures, the better, and that working with the train as planned will yield an unobtrusive building. Thank you for considering my comments. Okay. We are here for further conceptual, so there's no vote today. Go back through the same thing. Comments, Tip, where are you at with this project, please?
Okay, number one, I really appreciate that. I think it's a very beautiful rendering. And I think that you probably pick the best view to do this rendering. I like it because I think the roof pitch is low, minimalist. It blends in well the hill, and you can see the glimpse of the chimney, which I thought was nice. I think that if you take a look at the other elevations, they're probably not as successful as this elevation, this angle. With that in mind, I like for you to perhaps carry this, whatever you call it, architectural style theme around the other elevations. And some suggestion, as I suggested, I think the chimney is way too large if you look at the other elevations. And I think the roof pitch is way too steep, that I think you can get by with 3.5, 412. And then I'm not really sure that the gable would work for that element. And if you look at that, I think that it probably be a very beautiful project. And personally, I don't mind the cut down the ground to have an access to the garage. I think that's with the right landscaping, that would be beautifully done. So those are my comments.
Stacy, please, comments.
I can support the project moving to preliminary at this point. I think I really like the architecture. I think, and I understand the conflict with the trees and worrying about fire. But I think too that there's enough financial support on this to, if they put in the fire suppression system, also to look at your construction methodology. I don't know if you're planning on stick framing or doing it masonry for this particular building. Just more as like almost an anti-advising you, like to not lose it in a fire. If you approach it like that, Jeff Shelton does that quite often on his buildings, you know. But overall, I like the site plan. I kind of miss all of the crazy pathways from previous, but I'm fine with the simplification and how they are. I'm sure you'll continue to develop that over time. And I also appreciate that the landscape architects have scaled it back and shown more of a conceptual plan. That was something I talked with them about, so that we could understand it a little bit better, and it looks great overall. So, and I think you've listened about the parking and scaling back. So I think I would be ready to move it to the next level to preliminary full board.
Robert,
I am definitely seduced by this rendering. I think sandstone, there's plenty of boulders out there, would make it even better on the first level. But in general, I think it's a beautiful project and I support it going to the next level.
Rob, please, comments?
Yeah, I agree with comments of the board members and both Robert's comment on the sandstone I like. I like Tip's comment on the chimney being a little less wide. I actually like, and I think that comment came from me, was I appreciate your simplification of the pathways. I appreciate the more structure in the landscape because there's plenty of opportunities to have kind of an informal looseness with some of the understory and other parts of the project, but I think you need a balance of that. So I think it's a beautiful project. You guys have done a fantastic job, and I completely support moving it on to the next level and look forward to seeing the finished product. Thank you.
Andrew, you have coined a new phrase, although I think it is unwitting. Not on my yard, a NOMI, not a NIMBY. And I think that what you're basically doing is taking your problem and making it everyone else's problem. And I understand, I'm not exactly sure where the property lines for this whole community up here. You know, there's a house across the street to the north. There's a big turning circle. There's a change in the paving. Looks like somebody paved to one point and then other people paved to another. So I assume that paving line is about where it's all private property, you know, within a foot or so. And so I understand that this is basically private property next to private property. This is not a public road. I understand that 99% of the people in the world will never drive up here. Well, people in Montecito will not drive up here. Now, the rest of the world were down in, you know, 10 to the minus 18th. But I still think that this is not consistent. It's got two driveways right next to each other. I think that it's a three-story element where if we could have dirt in front of that, it would be a remarkably beautiful building. And I think it's through a desire to export your driveways and parking to others rather than to yourself. So I am not convinced about this project. I will probably, it sounds like I'm going to be the minority, but I probably will vote against it. I think this is a beautiful rendering. Occasionally I walk up there. I live somewhere near here on my daily walks. But I think it would be unfortunate to have those kinds of precedents set, and I just don't think it's necessary. So that's where I'm at. So it sounds like we want to move this to preliminary next time, full board? Yep. Yes. Robert,
Yes.
okay, preliminary. Thank you. Before we adjourn, I think this previous project to this on Hot Springs illustrates a problem that exists with our zoning laws, which allows projects to have average the setbacks. If they had to stay within the 10 feet on this, there'd be sufficient landscaping and things like that. I would like to have a discussion item about this, and whether or not, see if we want to make a recommendation either to the MPC or to the board about considering that. That's not today, but would other members like to have that discussion as well? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So can you talk to planning staff? But the ADUs use that provision to cause the situation we saw today. So can you talk to planning staff? And I think we'd like to have it soon, yes, but when it's convenient, I assume for Alex and his team. Okay, very good, thank you. Is there a motion for adjournment, please? Dickon.
So moved.
Oh, okay.
I can motion.
Whatever, all those in favor,
Motion the second.
all those in favor, aye. Thank you all.